All right, let's talk about something that can be incredibly confusing and honestly pretty painful in our relationships. It's that moment when someone we care about gets hurt, and instead of yelling or arguing, they just shut down. They go completely quiet. We're going to get into the deep psychology behind why that happens. I mean, have you ever been there? You're in a really tense conversation, you're bracing yourself for a fight or something, and what you get is just nothing. Silence. It feels like talking to a brick wall, right? But what if that wall, that silence, isn't what we think it is at all? Because what it looks like on the outside is one thing. We see indifference. We might even see it as weakness. Or we jump to the conclusion that they just don't care. But what's really happening underneath the surface? Well, that's a whole different story. It's often about emotional self-protection, feeling completely overwhelmed, or just some really, really deep processing going on. So to really understand this, we're going to break it down. We're going to look at 6 core psychological reasons people go quiet. And I think understanding these can totally change how you see these difficult moments. Okay, so the very first reason is all about our most basic instinct, the need to feel safe. It's what we call emotional self-protection. Think about it. For some people, their past experiences have taught them a really tough lesson. Showing that you're in pain only leads to more pain. So their brain, just trying to protect them, learns to go silent as a defense mechanism. It's a way to stop the bleeding.
And this is so crucial to get. Their silence is not a sign they don't feel anything. It's a shield they're holding up to protect all those feelings. It's an active defense, not a passive retreat.
All right, reason number 2. This kind of builds on that feeling of being totally swamped. It's simply the difficulty of verbalizing. I mean, have you ever been so upset, so overwhelmed that you literally can't find the words? That's exactly what's going on here. The emotions are just so intense, so powerful, that the language center of the brain kind of short circuits. It needs a minute to catch up. And this leads to such a wild paradox, right? They're not quiet because they have nothing to say. They're quiet because they have everything to say, all at once. And it's just too much to sort into sentences in that moment. It's an overflow, not a void. Now, our third reason goes a little deeper. It's really rooted in a person's history. It's a psychological concept called learned helplessness. And it's exactly what it sounds like. If you've spent your life trying to explain how you feel only to be ignored or dismissed or told you're wrong, well, you eventually learn that speaking up is pointless. You learn that silence is just easier. It hurts less than being ignored again. I mean, at its core, this is a response born from repeated disappointment. Why risk feeling that specific, sharp pain of being invisible one more time? Staying quiet becomes the safest bet. Okay, reason number 4 shifts the focus just a little bit. This one is less about protecting themselves and more about protecting the relationship. It's a fear of escalation. Look, we all know that when emotions are high, we can say things we regret. Some people are just hyper-aware of that danger, and so they go silent, they hit the pause button to stop themselves from throwing gasoline on the fire. And even though it can be frustrating, this is often a sign of how much they care. They're trying to manage the conflict. They'd rather absorb the hit in silence than lash out and say something that could cause permanent damage. Reason number 5 is all about how different people are wired. It's about their internal world. This is internal processing. It's pretty simple. Not everyone processes their feelings out loud. For a lot of people, especially introverts or just deep thinkers, the only way to make sense of a big emotion is to go quiet and turn inward. They need that space to reflect, to analyze, to figure out what they're actually feeling. So it's really important to see that their silence isn't a rejection of you. It's a necessary step in their own process of understanding. It's actually a very active internal effort to get to a place of clarity. And that brings us to our 6th and final reason. And honestly, this one might be the most important to remember. It's all about hiding deep emotion. You know the saying, still waters run deep? That's exactly this. Just because the surface looks calm, it doesn't mean there isn't a hurricane happening underneath. For so many people, a quiet, calm exterior is the only way they know how to contain overwhelming feelings. It's how they hide just how much they're hurting. So please, never mistake their quiet for not caring. Oftentimes, the deeper the silence, the more intense the internal storm. Their quietness can be directly proportional to how deeply they've been hurt. So, after going through all that, what do we do with this information? What's the big takeaway here? How does this change things? Well, the key is to completely reframe what you're seeing. That silence, it's not a weapon they're using against you. It's a shield they're using to protect themselves. It's not a refusal to talk. It's an internal process they need to go through. And this is the big one. It signals a need for safety, not a lack of care. And when you can see it that way, you can respond with compassion instead of anger. And that is what builds a connection instead of breaking it. So I'll leave you with this thought. Silence is never truly empty. It's actually filled with meaning, with history, with emotion, if we just learn how to listen to it properly. So now that you know the story it might be telling, how will you choose to listen?